What's going on, y'all? Thank you for coming to my channel. My name is Wally, and you are now tuned into PBH TV.
Hey, this the King of Melodies beat.
Yo, I'm back with some more Joe Rogan. He's interviewing Peter Zaham. They're about to speak about China trying to take over Taiwan. So sit back, react with your boy. Don't forget, join the Patreon, especially if you want to see some exclusive censor-free content. Like, comment, share, subscribe to the channel, and definitely hit that notification bell. Let's go, baby.
If China decides to invade Taiwan and the world stands up and the world imposes sanctions on China, how does that go?
Very ugly for the Chinese. So, say what you will about the Russian economy. It's corrupt, it's inefficient, it's not very high value add, but it's a massive producer and exporter of food and energy. You put the sanctions that are on the Russians on Beijing, and you get a deindustrialization collapse and a famine that kills 500 million people in under a year. And the Chinese know this. They can only push so hard. Also, you can make the argument that if the Russians succeed, they actually solve or at least address some of their problems. Even if the Chinese were able to capture Taiwan without firing a shot, it doesn't solve anything for them. They're still food importers. They're still dependent on the United States. They're still energy importers. And even if they take every single one of those semiconductor fab facilities intact, they don't know how to operate them because they can't operate their own. And their own are among the worst in the world, not the best.
Wow.
Whew.
Now, the only reason, in my opinion, to be concerned about a Taiwan war is because Xi has so isolated himself that when one person is making all the decisions and that one person refuses to access information to make the decisions, strange stuff happens.
And when you say refuses to access, what do you mean by that?
He does not have normal information flows anymore. Like even at the height of the Trump administration, when Trump was basically isolated himself from the entire intelligence community, he was still getting the daily briefing. There was still information being put in front of him. But Xi is so isolated himself. He doesn't want to hear anything except for what he wants to hear. And since no one knows what the status of the conversation with the voices in his head in on any given day, no one wants to bring him anything unless they're ordered to.
How do we know this about him?
Because there's no one to listen to anymore. That's one of the fun things about Russia versus China right now is that the Russian information security is so poor that American intelligence is literally listening in on everything. But in China, we can hear into the office, but there are no conversations happening.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean? Like, so no one talks to him about anything?
Anything. If you look at
so he's just terrifying to people.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, that's a gift and a curse, because if somebody has some real information but they're kind of skeptical about it, they can't even try to run it by him at all. That's kind of scary.
Because he murders dissidents. He murders anybody that...
He doesn't murder everyone, but there's a lot of people in prison.
And there's also a lot of billionaires that got disappeared, right? And any dissent.
Yeah, you're either executed or exiled, intimidated into silence. There's a variety of options. And if you look at the third-party Congress that we had late last year, that's when they select the Politburo. Everyone on the Politburo now is a personal flunky. There is no one from a different faction. There is no one that has a history of being incompetent.
Whew. And what is their plan?
The Chinese?
Yeah, do we have any idea of what their plan to get out of this is?
Nationalism. If you know that the economic situation is going to go to pot, then you have a couple of options. Option one is you try to cut a deal with a country that can help you out, but the only country that could do that is the United States. And the sort of strategic surrender that the Americans would require is not something that the Chinese would accept. So think about Germany in 1946. That's the scale of support and control that the Americans would insist upon for giving the Chinese a lease on life. But if you go with nationalism, give people a non-economic reason to support the state. So even if you lose your job, even if you can't feed your family, I'm Chinese, I'm Han, that's enough. That has been the strategy for the last couple of years. Will it be enough to preserve the CCP? Too soon to know.
And their overall health
is worse than ours. Diabetes as a percentage of the population is higher. They don't have a critical care system like we have. And their hospitals are really their only line of defense. They don't have a clinic and a doctor system in the towns like we do.
Wow. I mean, If you ask me, it's because there's so much people. Everything is just like a factory for them over there. Everything is factory orientated. You get what I'm saying? Like, how can you have a doctor's office up the block when you got millions of people? Might as well have a facility so we could just get them in, get them out.
And what about nutrition education and the understanding of?
Yeah, it's when you industrialize very, very quickly, especially in a culture like China where food is considered a sign of wealth, getting fat is the thing to do. So we've got a lot of diabetes, a lot of hypertension, a lot of overweight people, and over 2/3 of the population lives in a metro region and their air quality sucks too. So we're kind of seeing like the worst aspects of the Indian system and the American system all in one.
Yeah, what people fail to realize is that soon we're gonna be just like them. If you don't see what's going on, the way they canceling people for no reason, like, or for certain reasons, specific reasons need to be. What people really fail to realize is that slowly but surely we will become soon just like them when it comes to authority-wise. Word. Stay awake, y'all. When I say stay awake, I'm not talking about be woke, all right? So be on point.
So obviously the United States government is aware of all these things, correct?
Well, let's not oversell it, but broadly.
Broadly.
Yeah.
Have you been brought in to talk to people? Because you have a very comprehensive view of this that includes energy and nitrogen, fertilizers, everything. Like, has anybody ever brought you in and said, Peter, can you give us an assessment of what we're really dealing with versus what each individual expert has to contribute to it? Because you're giving an overall sort of comprehensive view of this.
I'm happy to say that I am doing some work with the Defense Department. I can't talk about the details, obviously, but I think it's good to give credit where it's due. One of the many, many things about the war on terror that reshaped the U.S. government is that we focus all of our intelligence apparatus on supporting the troops, which is reasonable. So instead of thinking, it's 2045 and you're thinking over the horizon, who's our foe going to be and what kind of tank are they going to use so that we can start preparing, which is what we used to do. It instead became there's someone on the other side of this door and the third floor of this building at the edge of town in Fallujah. What side of the door the hinges are, because we need to know if we need to blow it off the hinges or kick it in. So we focused all on that second thing for 20 years, which meant not only did we lose all the analysts who knew how to think forward, we lost all the people who trained them. 20 years is a long time. So even if everyone in DOD or the intelligence community disagrees with everything I have to say, and I have some friends, I have some colleagues, I have some non-friends who listen. The fact that they're trying to rebuild that capacity is a really good sign. And the fact that they started rebuilding that capacity so soon after the war on terror ended means that they recognize the hole in the system. This is a good sign.
So when you're saying that China has 10 years to go,
At most.
What do you mean by that?
Well, we now know that they've lied about their population statistics, and they overcounted their population by over 100 million people, all of whom would have been born since the one-child policy was adopted.
Yeah, that one-child policy actually hurt them because now they in need of new people. You understand me? So I believe they got rid of that one-child policy. Correct me if I'm wrong.
So this is one of those places where they've got more people in their 60s and their 50s and their 40s and their 30s and their 20s.
Now, what was the logic behind the one child? Was it that they were overpopulating?
Mao was concerned that as the country was modernizing, the birth rate wasn't dropping fast enough and that the young generation was literally going to eat the country alive. So they went through a breakneck urbanization program which destroyed the birth rate. At the same time, they penalized anyone who wanted to have kids. And both of those at the same time have generated the demographic collapse we're in now.
Could you believe that? Imagine living in a place where they're telling you, mind you, we already living somewhere where people are saying it's my body. Now imagine that being placed over here. We couldn't fathom something like that.
And the problem with that also was that they wanted male children.
Yeah, there's a cultural aspect to that too. And obviously men can't have kids on their own.
And what is the ratio to men to women in the younger people in China now?
Before the data revision, with the last set of lies, it was about 1 to 1.2. It was the most distorted in the world, even more than Sri Lanka, where there had been a civil war for 30 years.
Wow.
Since then, we don't have good sex-by-sex data, but it's undoubtedly worse.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable, y'all. Can you believe something like this? Wow. Let me know if you was aware about this in the comment, all right? Let me know. If you like what you saw, don't forget, like, comment, share, subscribe to the channel, and definitely hit that notification bell. I'll see you on the next one. Love.